The 600-mile-long natural gas pipeline may run from West Virginia to North Carolina. Council said it could pass under 30 roads in Suffolk. The Atlantic Coast Pipeline will be built by Dominion Energy and other companies. Once it's completed, it could potentially create thousands of jobs and millions of dollars in energy savings. Dominion Energy spokesperson Benita Harris tweeted last night after the vote, saying part in quote, "The Atlantic Coast Pipeline is a vote for a better energy and future economy and environment." Now, some community members say they don't want the disruption of farmland, rivers, and environment. People who don't even live in Suffolk attended the meeting last night, telling the council that this project was a bad idea.
It is totally the wrong direction. I'm asking you, council members, please make a moral decision tonight. Say no to Dominion Energy. Say no to 40 more years of dependency on fossil fuel infrastructure. We must move before it is too late to clean energy.
Now, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission approved the project earlier this week after issuing a stop work order last month. According to the builders, the project won't threaten any federally protected animal species. Allie Weatherton, 13 News Now.